Welcome back to the Vince Coglianese Show. As we've been discussing a huge debate last night, one in which Joe Biden face planted on national television.
On the total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Yeah, huge problems for Joe Biden last night. For more on this, I want to bring in a sitting United States Senator from the state of Alabama. Senator Tommy Tuberville joins us now. Sir, good to have you with us.
Thank you. Glad to be on.
It's wild to see a presidential debate like this. I just want to get your initial reaction to what you saw last night.
Well, I think it's all an orchestrated plan. You don't have a presidential debate this early, really, but they did it to see if Joe Biden could hold up.
Yeah.
The loser here last night, a lot of losers, but I think the American people were the biggest losers because they finally found out that the deep state is running our country right now, the Obamas, the Clintons, the Schumers, and the Pelosi's. And there's no way this guy could make any decision. But I've been telling people that since I've been in D.C. for the last 4 years. I mean, there's no way this guy can make a crucial decision or give a good thought or give a good answer to anything. But one thing overlooked is I think President Trump did a great job. If you could just turn the sound down and just watch the facial expressions with them side by side, you could tell at the end who was more in control of the situation. And on top of all of it, President Trump had some great comebacks. But again, he's always said the same thing. He has answers. Joe Biden doesn't have answers. His is to raise taxes, more climate change, do away with oil and gas, pay people to sit at home and buy their votes. That's all. He didn't have any answers to anything. But again, now they got themselves a huge problem, and we'll see which direction they go.
You mentioned that you've been saying this for a long time, that Joe Biden lacks the mental capacity to even do the job. That is something that people around Joe Biden quite obviously have known for some time because they work with him on a daily basis. Yet they have, on a routine basis, lied to not just voters broadly, but specifically to their own base. All of the media outlets that represent Democrats have been lying about this. Were you stunned by the turn of events last night as every single lefty news outlet began calling for Joe Biden to drop off of the ballot?
Yeah, again, it was a plan. If he could hold his own and get by the debate without sticking his foot in his mouth, I think they would have stayed by him to some point. But they were just piling on afterwards, and it was a great thing to see because the American people need to see, number one, how the mainstream media has covered it up, how the White House has covered all of his nonsense up, how the deep state is making the decisions. Folks, you have an elected government that is not making the decisions of what you and how your kids live. You have a deep state bunch of bureaucrats and politicians that are absolutely trying to change this country to something else, to socialism and communism, spend your money the way that you don't want it spent. And again, the whole country is less safe, maybe even the world less safe than Joe Biden and the deep state since they've taken over.
Yeah, and your deep state point is resonant. We've been talking a lot about that over the years and certainly in the past week about the details of, say, the 2016 election, the phony Steele dossier, the role that the intel agencies played in trying to upend the American election and the American electorate. Also in 2020, the Hunter Biden laptop scandal, the intelligence officials who were lying to the public about it coming from Russia and not actually being Hunter's laptop, and the effort to censor the news media and social media, once again, led by those very same intel agencies. Senator Tuberville, if President Trump gets back into office, do you expect that he will have some success in rooting that problem out of our government?
Well, that's got to be his first priority. And, of course, the first thing he needs to do is close the border and start pumping oil and gas because that will solve a lot of the problems we have in our country. But he's got to cut the head off the snake. Our CIA is out of control. Our FBI is out of control. The DOJ is out of control. They don't work for the American people. They work for themselves and a party and a future of a country that we're not familiar with. It's more familiar in China and Russia than it is the United States of America. These people are ruthless. And again, as you said, 51 people signed that document and said, "Oh, this laptop is not real. This Hunter Biden." 51 people that you would think would be considered leaders of part of our country at one time or another. These people downright lied to the American people, and they knew they were wrong. They knew they lied, and they need to be punished. So there's a lot of things that need to go here. But let me tell you something. President Trump is the only one that's got the nerve and the guts to line up and say, listen, this is enough. We'll shut this down. We'll shut this group down. You know, he doesn't need to just go nitpick 4 or 5 people. He needs to take the top echelon and say, thank you for your service. We'll check you later. Go get you a real job somewhere else. We're getting you out of the government.
Senator Tuberville, you know, just like President Trump, you are a guy who didn't need to take the job that you have now. You had a successful career as a coach. You made good money doing that. You could have just decided not to get involved in politics at all. You did. How has your perspective on our government changed since you became a United States senator? Is it uglier now that you're closer to it?
Oh yeah, it's. You know, the average person, and I kept up with politics, and I'm a true American. My dad was military. I kept up with the military, and of course, education, and of course, law and order, all those things. You keep up to some degree, but you're really out working, trying to make a living, raising a family. And so you really don't have time. But my gosh, since I've been up there, I've never seen like the corruption, the spending, the people that are just nonchalant about, well, we'll spend $1 trillion on this. You know, nothing is audited. Nobody knows where the money goes. There's so much fraud. There's so many people up there that are making money out of decisions, and it's got to stop. Mm-hmm. And the only chance we got to stop it is a guy like Donald Trump, who could care less about what people think about him. And that's the reason they're scared to death of him, because he is a guy that will make a very tough decision alone. He doesn't have to have anybody else's opinion. He knows and has seen it for many, many years. And so, yes, my eyes have been open. It scares me to death. I tell our people in Alabama, we're about to lose our country. We're losing our country to a bunch of thieves, a bunch of people that are radical, a bunch of people that want to change it to their way of thinking. They want 2 to 3% to run the whole country, maybe even the whole world. They're globalists, and this nonsense at the border is absolutely out of control. And the American people don't see that. We're going to end up with something that is going to be unbelievable. That's going to be tough to get out of.
It is, and it's also infuriating. I can't take it. I mean, we just keep getting headline after headline of young girls and women who are being raped and murdered in the United States. And invariably, as we get these stories, the follow-on story is it turns out they were in the custody of the Biden administration and then released into the country, and they're attacking our people in no time. Coach Tuberville, to what extent does that enrage you when you see these stories and then hear Joe Biden pretend like he has nothing to do with it?
Oh, I've called Mayorkas to his face a liar several times. This guy is either mentally retarded, mentally ill, or one of the smartest guys in the world, because he has convinced a lot of people that the border's actually closed. I mean, this is one of the biggest scams ever put on the American people in our lifetime. That border is wide open, and we're letting people come across that have no business of being within thousands of miles of the United States of America, but they're in our schools, they're in our hospitals, they're taking over the VA system. They're doing everything possible, staying in the nicest places. And the people that we should be taking care of, like our veterans, are having to sleep on the damn streets. People need to wake up and see what's going on and get Joe Biden, the deep state, and even the rhinos, get them out of Washington, D.C., close down the Department of Education, close down some of these bureaucratic entities that do nothing but run things for themselves and not for the American people.
On another issue that I know that you hold near and dear to your heart, that's the issue of life. In that debate last night, President Biden made a number of false claims about his positions and certainly his own party's positions on the issue of abortion. He claimed that nobody in his party is for late-term abortion. He seemed to pretend that Ralph Northam never said anything about leaving a baby to die on the operating table after it was born. What did you make of the exchange on life last night and Joe Biden's remarks in particular?
Well, they have no answers. You know, I'm pro-life, and I believe in family. I believe in the nuclear family. I know if we have 2 parents for children that we're going to have a better country. Yeah. But let me tell you something about the Democrats. All they do is talk about abortion. We're going to win this election because women should have the right, freedom to do whatever they want with their body. You know, as President Trump said, the 3 exceptions are vital, and they are. The life of the mom is vital. The life of the kid is vital. So at the end of the day, if you ask a Democrat, okay, what do you want to do? Let's come up with some kind of solution for abortion. What month? What week? are you interested in? They can't give you one. They want no rules or regulations about killing the unborn. They want to kill them on the table after they're born. And if people say that former governor of Virginia didn't say that, they're a damn liar. Because I heard it myself. People across the country heard it. We need to get away from this nonsense and start going by our Constitution, understand that we're free-loving people that love everybody, get away from this identity politics, get away from this killing of the unborn. It just makes me sick at my stomach to hear these Democrats talk because they really don't have a plan. They just want control.
Yeah, and they have the same position as awful countries like North Korea. It's about as extreme as it gets on the entire planet.
Right.
On the issue of Biden's candidacy, there's a lot of chatter today among Democrats that he may need to be replaced. As you mentioned, you think this is all part of the plan. What do you make of the fact that, you had a number of Democrat primary voters, all of them, they voted to make Biden their nominee, and now their party is basically saying, to hell with your votes. What does that say about their respect for, quote, democracy?
Yeah, they got a huge problem. And they should have thought about this before they put Kamala Harris in as vice president. They have no alternative there. I think the only chance they got is to make ends meet here is say, listen, we'll talk Joe out of running. We'll move Kamala up. Excuse me. Give her a chance. And tell Joe, listen, you step down. We'll give you. We'll forgive all your laws that you've broken over the years. The stealing of money, taken from other countries. They'll have to make him some sweetheart deal to get him out.
Yeah, so we'll see. But right now, it looks like Jill Biden is the one who's holding on for dear life. She wants to retain power here. But Joe looking awful. After a week of preparation at Camp David, that's the best he could muster. And now Democrats eagerly trying to replace him in order to hold on to power. Senator Tommy Tuberville, sir, thank you very much for your time today. Always appreciate you and your commentary. Really appreciate you today.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless. God bless.
God bless you. All right, let's take a call. I've got Chris calling in from Gainesville. He's on line 2. Chris, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Colonnese Show.
Hi, Vince. How are you?
I'm doing well, Chris.
I'd like to say that this election is about the two I's, immigration and inflation. And with regard to immigration, a lot of conservatives want to know, is Donald Trump willing to defy the courts when they block his deportation plan, much the way Biden defied the courts on student loans?
Well, the goal here is to restore the rule of law and respect for the Constitution and our branches of government. Right. I'm not convinced that the Supreme Court would block Trump's lawful efforts to deport illegals from our country, but let's just say they did for the sake of this hypothetical. Here's what needs to happen. The effort to get illegals out of the country can't be unidimensional. It has to be multidimensional. So it's not just a deportation effort. It's also a self-deportation effort. If you can make it untenable to be an illegal foreign national in the country, you're going to make it a lot more attractive for people to go somewhere else, including back to their home countries. That includes establishing nationwide E-Verify. That includes taxing remittance payments to make it fiscally impossible to take money from our country and to send it elsewhere. Figuring out ways to encourage that kind of behavior is essential. And in fact, Donald Trump has a track record of some success here. In the first years that he was in office, more and more illegal aliens in our country began applying to our government for something called voluntary departure. They would actually send in applications because it allows them ultimately to apply more quickly for a visa in the future if they so choose. But they wanted to leave the country because immigration enforcement had become kind of difficult. And so the answer to your question is that Trump should do everything he can to abide by the Constitution and to fight the right way in the court system. And he should also have a kind of just a full court press here that includes not just deportations, but disincentives to stay here in the country illegally at all.
I see. Okay. Well,
I think that's the way it's going to. I think that's the best approach.
I think I hope his second term on immigration is more effective than his first term. I hope he finishes the wall, all 2,000 miles, and electrifies it. And that's what I'm for.
It does everything to stop it. Yeah, walls. A wall's a permanent fixture that's not easily reversed by a future administration. Thank you. It's an excellent point. Although President Trump has often indicated there are portions of the border that are totally impassable already naturally, so it won't be quite 2,000, but quite a bit of wall worth building. Let's see. Hugh is in Germantown, line 4. Hugh, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Well, thank you, Vince. Yes, I just wanted to pick up on a point that Senator Tuberville was raising and echo the requirement to fill those 4,000 federal jobs that are high-level political appointees. Mm-hmm. And this has been a consistent failure of Republican administrations to fill those jobs. And so you have holdovers from previous Democrat administrations who are there to completely undermine Trump or any other conservative or other Republican coming in. So I just want to alert your public to Project 2025 from the Heritage Foundation. I am shocked always at the number of conservatives and Republicans who've never heard of this project. And it's there, it's on the net, it's on Heritage's site. And
yes.
It's basically recruiting people, ideally in the DMV, who, like me, have sworn that oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution, to really get ready for the Trump administration to fill those jobs so that we can get done what needs to be done.
It's essential. It's essential. I'm glad you bring it up. We've talked many times to Heritage about this and the people who are involved in Project 2025. We will again. The idea is patriots who just want to throw their name in the hat. They've got the experience. They're ready to serve, and they want the Trump administration to know they're ready to answer the call. Most importantly, they want the voters to know they're ready to answer the call. We have to root out people from our government who are seeking to undermine the will of the people and replace them with people who respect the voter, restore the constitutional republic. It is key, and in fact, it's at stake in this election. Coming up, President Trump speaking today in Virginia alongside Governor Glenn Youngkin. We've got audio, we've got your calls, a lot more ahead. Hey, good afternoon to you. 5:35 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. You can join us today, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Kamalama Ding Dong Harris out in Nevada today doing a rally. And ahead of that rally in Las Vegas, reporters from the New York Times that were walking around trying to talk to voters, and just like in any good communist country, they had a minder with them trying to keep track of what voters were saying and then preventing the New York Times reporter from getting more info. A guy called Simon Levian was posting to his live blog today on the New York Times. As I spoke to voters at a Las Vegas rally for Vice President Harris, a Nevada Biden campaign staffer followed me and twice asked that voters end their interviews when their comments turned critical of President Biden. One undecided voter, Stephen Stubbs, said he wished Biden would step aside and let Harris be the presidential nominee. Poor Stephen. Poor Stephen. You know, there are better options than these two idiots. Anyway, so he says he wants Harris to be the nominee. The staffer interrupted, this is the Biden campaign staffer, saying, quote, "I'm going to stop it here. Sorry, if I can. It's a Biden event. Is that okay?" So, and then apparently the New York Times reporter's like, okay. So, this is like, it's Soviet. You've got somebody, you know, tracking you and shutting down interviews the second they turn a tiny bit sideways. Like, I don't really like Biden. I think I prefer Harris. All right, this interview is over. And they're, you know, they're black bagging these people and dragging them out of the rally. You're not welcome here anymore. So that's the update. That's how things are going in Biden world. Let me take a phone call first, and then I want to play some audio from this Chesapeake rally. President Trump alongside so many Virginians, to include Hung Cao running for Senate, Governor Glenn Youngkin there. But first, here's Chris in Marshall, Virginia. Chris, good afternoon, sir. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
As always, it's an honor. Thank you for taking my call. I've been really woefully out of the loop all day, and I've been hoping to be able to call in. I have some insight on this event from last night, and it's kind of shocking, kind of unusual. I really think that it went as well as possible for President Trump. Surprised and impressed with how balanced CNN was. Mm-hmm. There was no gang up. It wasn't 3-1. I was really impressed with their professionalism. I also think that Trump really shined. I think that he was far more mature. He was far more presidential as opposed to the vegetant. And I think that this was the absolute best outcome we could hope for because the Vegetant just barely squeaked by. He didn't have a Fetterman moment. He didn't have a stroke like Wexton during the debate. He was himself, and that was just bad enough for everybody to see him, but not bad enough for the leftists to flush his toilet.
You know, I forgot about that Jennifer Wexton moment. You're right about that. And
I was there. I was front and center. I was 12 feet away from her, and I turned to the room, and I was like, is anybody going to notice this?
Yeah, that was amazing. Unbelievable. So I think you're right. You know, President Trump, if he wanted to really lay into Biden last night and to call much more attention, take a highlighter and rub it all over Biden's forehead to what was happening with that guy's brain, he could have. Instead, he kind of let those moments breathe last night. He kind of stared over at him. He just let it play out, and the effect of it was really, really strong insofar as...
The number of times Biden was turned to him aggressively and trying to get him to look at him, but Trump wouldn't take the bait. He wouldn't take the bait. Now, there's a French term called l'esprit d'escalier, which is the spirit of the staircase. After you have a fight with your wife and you storm upstairs, or she storms upstairs, slams the bedroom door, and then you think about all the stuff, you know, that armchair quarterbacking, right?
Yeah.
But I think that President Trump has an opportunity to say, a vote for me is a vote against that entire administration. If you're fed up with the degeneracy, if you're fed up with nudes romping around on the South Lawn, if you're fed up with that disgrace of a press secretary, and you're disgraced with Admiral Levine, if you're disgusted with all of that, a vote for me will end that on day one.
I can't even believe we're at this point, but you're right. A vote for Trump is a vote for normalcy. It's a vote for decency. It's a vote for the Republic. And here we are.
Because decency is on the ballot. Decency.
Yeah.
Didn't we hear that 4 years ago? Decency is on the ballot. It certainly is.
Chris, thank you very much. Chris and Marshall
Have a great
calling
weekend,
in.
man.
Excellent perspective and an excellent French lesson. I thank you for all of that. Hey, let me also, because I haven't played it yet and I've been promising to play it for you, I want to deliver on these promises. There was this moment, to the extent that the two men mixed it up at all last night and really got at each other, it was over golf. That ended up being the thing. Here is Trump and Biden having, I guess, the most lively portion of the entire debate, debating cognition and debating golf scores. Take a listen to this.
But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they've never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds.
What?
Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, anyway, just take a look at what he says he is and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I had, you know, how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Okay,
Let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn.
Let's not act like children.
And then Biden says right at the end there, he goes, after Trump says that, he goes, "You're the child." He says it's like so crazy. I was howling with laughter. It was well deserved at the end after having gone through all that. Boy, that was unbelievable. Meanwhile, President Trump today, well, he's in Chesapeake, Virginia. Here he is. He introduced Hung Cao, U.S. Senate candidate, Republican, veteran, to the stage today. Here's Hung Cao taking the microphone, and then you'll hear Governor Glenn Youngkin also introduced.
Mr. President, The only person better off today than they were 4 years ago is an illegal alien. We're going to fight for America. We're going to put Americans first, like we always have, with your leadership, sir.
Go get him.
Straight to the point.
Telling you, he's going to win, man. That guy he's got a serious handshake. Well, I'm sorry, but I think my hand may be broken. He's a tough cookie. That's a serious handshake you have. Thank you. You're going to win. You're going to win.
You can tell by the handshake.
A lot of people are going to win that nobody's thinking of, and it's amazing what's happening. What's happening is really amazing. But this is a guy who's going to win, and you're going to be proud of him for many, many years. We're also grateful to be joined by the governor of this magnificent Commonwealth. His name happens to be Glenn Youngkin, and he's one of the greatest governors in the country. And I know he just spoke, but I'd love to have him come up and say a few additional words. Thank you very much.
You know, what an amazing turn of events, you know. Youngkin, who he kind of kept Trump at arm's length. Wasn't clear he was in the campaign with him. Here he is on stage, standing tall. He's a tall man, taller than Trump, and Trump is tall.
Okay, Virginia, are you ready to win? Mr. President, this is the best Trump rally that you have ever had, and you're doing it in Virginia. And yes, on behalf of 8.7 million Virginians, Mr. President, we are going to go to work and get you back in the White House.
He really is. He's a great governor doing an incredible job, and we appreciate it. He's also a tall governor, very tall governor. The only one I know taller is my son, Barrett. That kid is tall.
Barrett is tall.
And he's a good boy, and he sees this country, and it distresses him when he sees what's happening at a young age. People understand. Smart people understand. But I want to thank the governor for the great job he's done in the Commonwealth. It's done an incredible job, and everybody's talking about it too. Thanks as well to Virginia Attorney General Jason Mears. Jason Mears. Where's Jason? Come on, Jason, let's go. What the hell is a Friday?
Yeah, what
Come
the
on.
hell?
Come on, Jason.
A little bit of a
I hear
notable.
great things. All I know is Glenn tells me he's doing a great job as Attorney General. I don't have to hear anymore. That's the one that matters. Come on, Jason.
A little bit of a notable absence between the two of them. Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears not named or apparently in attendance.
Well, I first, as the Attorney General, as a top law enforcement official in the Commonwealth, I have to say, Mr. President, after seeing last night's debate, I instructed my adult abuse investigators to investigate the DNC for forcing Joe Biden to run for president. But when we talk about what's at stake at this election, it's three simple initials. USA.
That's a good line. That's a good way to get a crowd going.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General.
I'm going to have to steal that at some
Is
point.
everybody having a good time? So one of the great congressmen, a person who knows more about our military, I think, than maybe anybody. He's from a wonderful state known as Florida, and he's highly respected by everybody he knows. Just a real professional, and he hates seeing what he's seeing because he sees our country, a nation in decline is what he sees, and it's very sad to watch, but we're going to turn it around. Congressman Michael Waltz. Thank you, Michael. Great job.
So the president continuing here. This was just moments ago, but thanking everyone who's in attendance today at that Chesapeake rally. A huge crowd in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And if you're looking for more evidence that you're going to see a lot more of President Trump in Virginia, look no further than the fact that he's here now. Right after that debate, they made a lot of hay out of the fact that he'd be coming here to the Commonwealth, and he did. And that's because they're competing. They really think at this point that Virginia is in play. And don't you think if it was neck and neck prior to that debate, what do you think it is now? What do you think it is now? Whether it's vote switching to President Trump, which we have seen quite a bit of, or just a depressed vote on the left. Either way, it's to his benefit. And right now we're looking at a very, very good election for President Trump. You see the Economist and Nate Silver over at 538. If we have a free and fair election, as President Trump emphasized last night when he was asked about January 6th, and asked about whether or not he'd accept the outcome of the election. If we have a free and fair election, President Trump is headed to something good here. But the left, man, their appetite for power is insatiable, In fact, on that January 6th answer, I want to play some audio. In terms of Trump's strategy last night, there were a couple of moments that were clearly well considered going into this debate. They knew they were going into CNN that there would be questions about January 6th, the insurrection. And President Trump, I'm not sure if this was campaign guidance. It certainly sounds like it. He came out with a great answer last night. Here he is.
The issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6 and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
Yeah, just a great answer last night, as he said. You want to know what was happening on January 6th? Things were a lot better than they are now. Well, the left is in a panic about Biden. They want to replace him, although both Presidents Obama and Clinton came out today, and they said they're still riding with Biden. They're sticking with him through November. Good luck with that. CNN's John King last night demonstrated he's got a bad case of the Kamalas.
The Republicans are going to probably disagree with me. But I think one of the greatest acts of political malpractice I have seen in my lifetime doing this is that they kept her under wraps for 3 years. Now she's out on the road. She has great appeals. Does she have weaknesses? Yes. Do Republicans view her as a liability? Yes. Are her polling numbers great? No. But she has appeal with the pieces of the Biden coalition where he is hurting the most. Oh. And when you go into inner city Milwaukee, what do black Americans say? Where's the vice president? Where has she been? They want the president, too. But she's right there. Is she feisty communicator, good on television, and they kept her under wrap for 3 years. Now she's out there busy on the campaign trail. I know in places, I know in Republican places, you'd beat her up. But in a close competitive race, when you need all hands on deck, that is an asset that should have been working for them from day one. And Joe Biden was vice president for 8 years. If there's anyone who should have understood how hard it is to be vice president, how hard it is to establish an identity as vice president, it's him. And again, she's churned through staff. She has issues. There's no question about it. But she also has potential star power.
What? I really hope that the Biden campaign was listening to John King last night and saying, that's actually some good advice. And they started scribbling it down and nodding, saying, yeah, let's do more of that. Let's send Kamala Harris out there. Kamala Harris, who literally thanks Senator Mark Kelly for representing the people of Nevada today. He's from Arizona. She has no idea what she's doing. The great one, Mark Levin, up next here on WMAL.